From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the primetime capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live. And you know, it's Friday, my favorite day of the week. And you know, I know you guys been anticipating and waiting and wondering where Mr. Mike Abadir is. He's had some family business to situate with, but today he's going to give us a little bit of time, and I truly do appreciate it. So you guys welcome in Mr. Mike Abadir. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, my man? I'm happy to be here, man. This is a nice opportunity for me to kind of get away from everything I got on my plate and to talk a little sports with you. My favorite guy to have barbershop talk with any day of the week, man. So this is good stuff. And today's opening day for Gulfstream Park Championship meet and for Oaklawn. I've never seen Oaklawn in December. Got tons of great college football coming up and always NFL, baseball signings, NBA. Where to go from here, Pop? Be the leadoff hitter and get us started, my friend.
All right. Well, you know, well, you already know what it is, man. You got USC and LSU landing top coaches in college football to make quick fixes. What are your thoughts on? We'll start with LSU first because I know that this one was a surprise move. Honestly, I've never seen. I really can't fathom a guy who probably the premier coach of all time to as the greatest coach, you know what I mean, the most winningest coach, and leaves after 8 years. I would think that you would stick around until it's all said and done because Notre Dame's like that type of school. But we do know that Notre Dame is kind of a school where, hey, a lot of guys have came here for 8, 9, 10 years and then they move on. You know what I mean? And even in successful years and everything like that. Comes to mind with Coach Holtz. You know what I mean? Coach Holtz was did great, but he didn't stick around after, you know, he was gone after about 95. You know what I mean? So, you know, and he's literally just like Brian Kelly. He came in there to make a quick fix. You know what I mean? And he fixed the situation. And I think they're telling themselves that he's left Notre Dame in good hands, and you just can't pass up the money that's here in the SEC, especially when you're getting a school like LSU to coach as well, too.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. Lou Holtz left for retirement. Now, he came out of retirement and coached at South Carolina for the Gamecocks, right? This is actually the first time in Notre Dame history where somebody left for another school. Because traditionally, Notre Dame has been the premier job. You know, it's one of 4 or 5 destinations that are primo, that are number one destinations. So nobody's ever left. To me, I find it interesting because he has the job. He's doing well over there. They're winning games. They're always in contention for something. Even in his down years, they're not bad. To me, I'm very shocked by this, man. Going to the LSU, it's no walk in the park. I mean, look at how many great teams there are in that conference year in, year out. I mean, Alabama's a fixture, obviously, but Georgia, Florida, I mean, there's so many teams that are traditionally powerhouses that retool very fast even after they have a down year. I think it's kind of a crazy move, to be honest with you. You know, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. That's my motto. He's got a bird in the hand. Now he's got to start from scratch and bring his guys in, his coaching staff in, recruit his type of players. I don't know, man. I think he's made the wrong move, brother.
I have to totally agree with you because to me, you have security at Notre Dame. It's that simple. And you could go out and have a 2-10 season, they won't fire you because they trust you.
Yep.
But I'm gonna tell you like this: you have one little incident, one little situation that those people don't like in Baton Rouge. Oh, they'll be trying to hang you. You know what I mean? Or
well, look at Coach O.
Yeah.
Coach O just won a championship. I've never seen a guy get bounced that quickly after just winning a championship. Have you?
And Les Miles won a championship as well too, and
there you go.
Absolutely treated him like absolute crap at the end. Like, well,
exactly.
That good of a coach anyway. It was always about the talent, but you got to have somebody coach the talent. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like LSU is missing out on, is that they're not letting people. They want to keep up with Bama. Okay, it's that simple. All right, and ain't nobody gonna keep up with Bama as long as Nick Saban's there. It's that simple. Okay, and what happens is that the SEC, to me, it has to be the most overrated thing in all of sports because you have really literally just one team that's the most utterly dominant team ever. You know what I mean? But everybody else takes credit for it as if they're just as good as that team. We know that Georgia is really good, but Georgia, let's be honest, Georgia plays in the weak side of the SEC. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, if you put Bama on that side, they beat everybody 60 by at least 30, 40 points. You know what I mean? Just like Georgia's doing. But you put Georgia on Bama's side, I think they get 2 or 3 losses on Bama's side, to be honest with you.
Look, I understand what you're saying. You make some valid points. The thing is, I think the reason that they're not overrated is between LSU, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. How many national titles has it been in the last 20 years? Right, I mean, no other conference really compares.
Right, but look at this situation, though. You got Florida, who hasn't done much in years. You have LSU, they got their one championship, and then as soon as it goes to the left, they have to get rid of their coach, right? But that's because they know that most likely this coach is not going to get us back to close to being with Saban. I'm just saying, yeah, you got 5 really good teams, but I'm going to be dead honest with you. Then the Big Ten can go brag about that. They have 7 really good teams if you really want to put things into fruition, because I really always see a lot. You saw what Ohio State had to do. Ohio State had to go through 3 top 10 teams before they even got to Michigan. You know what I mean?
Ohio State deserves all the credit in the world. They're definitely the best in that conference. Clemson is the best in their conference. Well, Michigan, obviously, this year. But I'm just saying over the last 5-10 years, it's been Ohio State. It's been Clemson. Those are the teams that have really run the show. And then there's been like a B and C school that have emerged here and there. This year, the Big Ten is good. But keep in mind also that SEC produces a shit ton of NFL players.
Right.
But they are an NFL factory.
Right.
And I think that having that on your resume is something that probably he seeks, because Notre Dame isn't churning out as many NFL players as before for whatever reason. Maybe it's the type of offense or defense that they've got. It doesn't lend itself to NFL systems. I don't know exactly. Notre Dame is actually a school that I've never scouted as an agent. But speaking of being an agent, Pop, if I was Kelly, I would have had my representation, my agent, and I don't know which agency he's with, but I would have used the LSU deal as leverage to get Notre Dame to pony up more money. But I wouldn't have left, and I'll leave it there.
Right. And my last point with it is, I think he makes this move because literally it's like this. Say, if you've ever played NCAA football as in the dynasty mode where you recruit every single year and say you want to be cool and start off with a mid-major or something like that, and just to test out how this recruiting thing works. And then once you get to that top team, I've done it on several occasions. Once you get to that, once you move teams, because they always going to offer you a job or something to move on to another team. Once you move teams and you say you go to a 6-star team, literally what you do is you just infuse your great coaching into a talent pool that's going to be the best of the best. And that's exactly what Brian Kelly's chasing. Yeah, you're going to get top players. He just got top players to come back to Notre Dame. For a good decade, they weren't getting the creme de la creme. They weren't winning the state of Indiana. You know what I mean? Where you get Mr. Football and everything like that. But now they have a lock on the Midwest, and he left them in a good place, just like he left Cincinnati. That's why I keep being like, why is everybody so mad at Kelly? Because he left them better than when he came there. And I'm just saying to myself, he wants to take on the biggest challenge of them all.
Hey, much respect for going for it. Mm-hmm. Much respect for going for it, but I'm going to go on the record and say I don't think he's a great coach, and I think he's going to fail miserably at LSU. Well, that's my prediction.
We'll see.
I do not think he's a great coach.
Well, we'll see. All-time winning, you say Notre Dame, and you know that there ain't no fluke there with that one.
But dude, how many times? How many? I mean, beating Army and Air Force and Stanford. I mean, their schedule has been dog poo for years. College teams play more games than ever before, right? Yeah, of course, if you're there long enough and you beat up on cupcakes in your schedule, you're going to be the winningest head coach, you know? Right. Like that's where the SEC comes into play. SEC, you're playing a tough team at least every other week. Probably 75% of your schedule is going to be a really tough team. There's not that many teams that you could roll over, you know. It's not like all Vanderbilts, you know. So I know we want to talk a little bit about SC.
Right. I was gonna kind of just cut you off right now. I didn't want to be that guy, but we got to move on to SC because I know that's more of a local, and I know there's a lot of people that are in our area that are watching the show right now, and they want to hear what Mike has to say about USC. I already put my 2 cents down about what the situation is right now. They went big game hunting. They went and got who they feel is a coach that can get the offense going. And all they did was just hire the same last 2 coaches they just had major press conferences about. One was named Lane Kiffin. The other one was named Steve Sarkisian. But the thing is, though, both those coaches did not coach Oklahoma like Lincoln Riley did and saw the success that Lincoln Riley saw as well too. And I would say Lincoln Riley is the right type of choice. They went with guys like Sarkisian and Kiffin because of Pete Carroll, and they thought they could get that old thing back or keep the tradition going, which was not, you know, which was you had 2 guys who were just way too young to be the coaches of USC. You had to have somebody who's mature, like Coach Riley. He has a family, a wife, all that good stuff. And, you know, he's a square. You know, it's not like he's coming here and like, oh, man, I got to be in commercials and I got to go do this and I got to – no, he's just trying to come coach a football team, and that's exactly what they hired him for.
Look, Sarkisian had his problems. That was well documented. Yeah. Substance abuse, alcohol, whatever, right? Lane Kiffin's always been immature. He's always been arrogant, too arrogant for his own good. He was arrogant with the Raiders. Al Davis got rid of him in a heartbeat.
Real quick, did you work with the Raiders when he was coaching them?
I did not.
Okay. But you got one story about him where it's like this was what did him in? Because I know it wasn't the game. I think it was more. It was an overall just he just wasn't liked, right?
Not liked. He's just a bad character guy, man.
Right.
He's just a bad character, dude. That's pretty much the bottom line. That's what it is. Lincoln Riley, on the other hand, he's a good character guy. And I think that's the big difference between – they may all have equivalent offensive minds. They might. But the difference is one is a good character guy. And that's going to go a long ways in recruiting. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're able to convince families from Christian households in the South to let him have their kids for 4 years in Oklahoma, I think you're going to have tremendous success anywhere, right? Because they will only work with somebody that's got values, like a Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, guys like that, right? So he was able to go there and prevail West Coast is going to be easy as pie when he goes recruiting here at LA, up in the Bay Area, AZ, etc. So I think he's going to do a great job recruiting. I know you're not big on Cliff Kingsbury, but I think they are like 1 and 1A of each other. And I bet you that Lincoln Riley has a nice run at SC. He's still young enough where he could be in the NFL by 40. That's what I predict he'll do. Good hire. Good. They could not have got a better head coach unless they brought Pete Carroll back or something like that. So this was the best that they could do, and they got it. Good for them.
All right. Well, I like it. I like to hear that. And pretty much let's go ahead and jump into this next topic. And we already talked about it, so we'll just gloss over it. We know Bama, UGA, this is going to be a big time game, blah, 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 blah. But we'll go ahead and jump into this Michigan situation. I think
let me just say one thing real quick. It'll be interesting to see what happens if Alabama loses. So right now, Georgia's number 1 in the country. Alabama's number 3. I just kind of have this sense that Alabama is going to be in the college playoff no matter what, right? But it'll be interesting to see. It'll force their hand big time if Alabama has another loss.
It's not going to be fair, man. If they lose 2, they lose 2. They got to get out. You know what I mean? If Oklahoma State wins, and somebody loses, they're in. It's that simple, because as they owe it to the Big 12 with both their best teams leaving at this point. They owe it to the Big 12 to keep the Big 12 as a power conference, because they're about to not be a power conference once Oklahoma and Texas leave. And the only way that they can still carry that glow is by a team like Oklahoma State now having to carry the flag for that conference. So I really feel like you're not going to leave them out. And then you're not going to leave Notre Dame out either. You know what I mean? Alabama has been getting favors for a long time.
Yeah. Well, what happens if the computer model puts them up?
Well,
right. That's going to be interesting. And by the way, hey Pop, I want to mention one thing really quickly, and then we can move on. You alluded to those 2 teams moving to the SEC. And by the way, I think that had a I think that went a long way with Lincoln Riley leaving, right? Think about it. You get to face SEC schools week in, week out, or you could deal with Washington State and Oregon State, Colorado, week in and week out. A lot easier schedule, man. Way easier. He could dominate in the Pac-12.
Right. So, and see, that's where we get in this, but that's where I kind of get my little that's kind of where I get my little thing at, where, come on, let's not treat the Pac-12 as if it's just a cupcake conference like that. Like, USC has to build back the program. Like, if you're going to really be whooping up on the Pac-12 and everything like that, you need to be winning over at Mater Dei High School. You have the best player at Mater Dei High School, Bryce Young, goes to Alabama. He skips out on USC and UCLA. Then you have the best quarterback over at the next best school over in the Inland Empire, which is Corona Centennial, and CJ Stroud going to Ohio State. That's an utter failure on the end of all coaches that are dealing with both USC and UCLA. But we understand UCLA's situation. Chip Kelly goes after a certain quarterback. But the thing is, with USC used to dominate simply because they used to always have the captain of the Mater Dei high school football team.
And that's how you know that the Pac-12 and USC have been down for a while, when people make that decision, right? Because look at that string that they had, the streak that they had. Carson Palmer, followed by Matt Leinart, followed by Mark Sanchez, followed by Barkley. They got the top guy year in, year out. It was almost like a given, even going back to like Todd Marinovich and stuff in '92. So, I mean, something happened. I think the Pete Carroll departure, the fumbling with poor character head coaches, coaches leaving for the NFL. And before you know it, Pac-12 has really done themselves in. Can they get back to prominence? Yeah. Yeah, they can, and they should. But what you're saying is 1,000% right. They have all the talent in their backyard. You should be able to put championship teams just from the talent in Los Angeles alone. So they've got it here. They've got to recruit better. They got to seal the deal with the top schools like you're talking about. So
right.
I wish them luck. This is my home conference, so I want to see them do well. I want to see them finally have teams in the championship game. Aside from, like, I guess Oregon's probably been the most successful team in the conference in the last decade. I want to see other teams too be able to rise to prominence. So,
right. And what? But I know one thing: the NFL still loves recruiting that conference, though,
especially on with offensive players and
cornerback, safety.
Yeah, it's there's talent.
Everybody.
There's talent. They just haven't put together teams like 1 through 100 that are stacked year in, year out.
Right. It's just the biggest thing with the Pac-12 at this time is that it's not about the conference being bad or anything like that. They just don't perform well against the other Power 5 schools when they have these non-conference matchups, and that's where everybody puts their opinion on the conference. But I think that when it comes down to actual conference plays, when you compare all the conferences, the play in the Pac-12 is absolutely tremendous, in my opinion. I know it doesn't look great, and I know the records aren't great, but the way that they go at it and the way that they show how they are more in tune with today's football, I think the SEC is is the reason why everybody loves it and respects it so much. It kind of meets yesteryear with the future a little bit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If we're going to be honest about conferences being bad this year, Pac-12 wasn't the worst conference in the Power 5 group. The ACC was absolutely torrid this season.
Dog crap. Absolutely.
Clemson was dog doo-doo. North Carolina was an overhype as well too. This is a sad day when you got Wake playing against Pitt. Both these teams a few years back didn't even mustered up like 3 wins for the season. So it shows that your conference is taking about 3 steps back when these two are at the end of the road playing for absolutely pretty much nothing. All they're doing is playing for an Orange Bowl bid. That's it. And the Orange Bowl doesn't have the same. See, when they did the CFP, it took away the luster of the 4 big bowls, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And when the Fiesta Bowl got in trouble for stealing money, it really messed it up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So because they don't even consider the Fiesta Bowl like that anymore. And it's still played in a great venue. It's still they still give out a lot of money. But the thing is, after that board stole the money, they can't take that game as seriously as they used to. You know what I mean? But Fiesta be a really big deal. But
agreed.
They've elevated the Cotton Bowl. You know what I mean? And I know why they do that, because the Cotton Bowl is a SEC Big 12 matchup. You know what I mean? That's a traditional game for them and everything like that. So let's get into Michigan real quick. Real quick with Michigan. Michigan, I don't care what anybody says, Michigan should be on upset alert. Why are we having parades for Michigan just because they beat Ohio State? That was great. They beat Ohio State. But aren't you supposed to beat Ohio State when you have 105,000 people with a 19% wind chill, and it's 22 degrees, and you have a brand new coordinator from the Baltimore Ravens that your brother gave to you because you can't beat the Buckeyes with who you've hired? So yeah, that was all good and well because you guys were ready for that game. You were pumped up for that game. But the thing is, though, when we seen Harbaugh in big game situations, he's not a big game coach. And this goes back, and I said on my show the other day, this reminds me of the 49ers' first conference championship game with Harbaugh as a coach. There was a lot of hype going into the 49ers on the lowly Giants, who just got here because they played some great defense the last 6 weeks of the season, and they wound up beating the 49ers that day. and I'm just going to leave it at this. I'm going to let you take over. I'm just going to leave it at this. I got Iowa winning the game on Saturday, straight up. I don't care. I got them winning. I think they play good enough defense. We're not playing at the big stadium in Michigan. We're playing at a dome situation, neutral territory, and I think that their defense is much better than Michigan's defense. I'm gonna be dead honest with you. This team, they haven't even given up 30 points. I think they gave up maybe 30 points once this season.
Well, yes, neutral site. Michigan does travel well. Weather is not going to be a factor at all. So you really do have a neutral location, balanced, fair all the way around. Michigan will bring their fans over, that's for sure. I think Michigan has more talent. I used to think that Harbaugh was the man, right? Because he took a lousy Stanford program, a one win Stanford program, and won with them. Was very successful. Was the only team that figured out USC. Before that, he did a great job at USD. Before that, he did a good job with the Raiders. The Michigan opportunity has been unsuccessful in terms of expectations, right? It has not met the expectations at all. Really, in the last, how long has he been there now? 6 years? Whatever length of time it is. They should be like 3-3 or 4-3 against Ohio State. Not finally getting their first win. That's a joke. They did not bring him in to keep losing to the rival every single year. It's not a rivalry if it's, one-sided. That's like the SC string of wins against like UCLA, being a superior team to UCLA for a long time. UCLA has been like the little brother that wishes that they could be as good as their crosstown bigger brother. Just hasn't been the case. And Ohio State and Michigan have had that same relationship. So, yeah, I agree with you. They won a game. They should have won that game. They were supposed to win that game. They're at home. You mentioned the elements. It was a hostile environment for Ohio State, and just didn't work out for them. They didn't have their best game, and they couldn't stop the run. It happens, right? With that said, I think that they're still superior to Iowa, but maybe this was a case of looking ahead. I'm trying to think of a more decent expression than they blew their wad, but I just said it. So I think they laid it all out on the field last week, man. I don't know if you could kind of rev up and get that same emotion and determination and focus again so quickly.
Right. And people have to understand Iowa has to be probably the most disciplined team in the conference too. They don't get a lot of penalties for stupid things, and they lock up, Mike. I'm telling you, they really do lock up. And it's like frustrating when they lock up for teams. You know what I mean? Like they will literally keep you where they want you at. They wear the same colors as the Steelers.
Okay, and running for goal. Those two first-time starters.
Oh, I apologize there. That was Matt Dinnerman came up on my screen.
Yeah, I guess Matt's joining the show with us today too. Matt Dinnerman too, the youngest he's probably one of the younger race callers in the game, and he's probably the best race caller in the game. I keep telling everybody that whenever Trevor wants to wrap it up, he'll be going to Del Mar because he's from the San Diego area. He'll be at Del Mar eventually, and I think he'll be at Santa Anita at the end of the day as well too. You know what I mean? Because he's done he's paid his dues. First up at Emerald Downs, now here at Golden Gate. He can only keep going up. You know what I mean? So I think that it's either going to be Del Mar or Santa Anita next for him. But I know that he loves Golden Gate, so he's not really rushing to run away from Golden Gate like that. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. They're going to have a lot of options, right? Because you got Frank Marotti. He's still young enough to keep doing it, right? Del Mar, John Lees, is experienced announcer from Lone Star and from some of the Midwest tracks. John Lees does their on-site handicapping. Matt, like you mentioned, and then also, man, why am I blanking on his name? NBC.
Oh, Larry Comas, he's back.
Right. He's been filling. He did the fall meet or whatever. right? So, I mean, they've got a lot of options of good, talented people to bring in. It will be interesting to see what they do nonetheless.
Right, but Matt's a local boy, man. He's from that area, so I would think that it would be great if they would put him in because he has that energy, and you need young people in this business a lot. You know what I mean? To keep selling it, and when they see a young, fun face, a lot of people will keep watching. You know what I mean? Because that's all I'm on. But this isn't about horse racing right now. We just over here, I'm being nosy talking about what Mike's watching on TV. So we move forward. Let's talk about Cincinnati real quick. Cincinnati is playing the biggest game in school history against Houston. Will they survive?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
I hate to be the burden of bad news, but I just got this feeling that Houston is going to spoil this thing. And we're going to wind up, and this is my bold prediction going into the weekend, brother, is that we're going to wind up getting the CFP looking like this. We're going to get an Alabama win against Georgia. They're going to stick around. Georgia's already in the CFP. They don't have to worry about a thing. They're in. They're in for sure. No worries and no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're in. And then Alabama sticks around. And then we put in Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, and then we get ourselves another rematch with Alabama and Georgia for the national championship.
Well, hold on here. You said if Alabama is a 2-loss team that they shouldn't be in. Why is Georgia so guaranteed as an in? What if they're a 2-loss team?
Because they lose to Alabama, and it's the SEC game. They literally have already been.
But Alabama, if they lost, they would lose to Georgia.
Mike, the last few years, they've ensured this situation to where if you go into that game undefeated, they're not going to kick you out of the CFP. They've already locked down that CFP with that win over Georgia Tech, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Okay. I know that everybody's going to say, oh, they shouldn't be out, but you just said it. You just put me in my place about it. The SEC is supposed to be that top conference. So what they're going to do is they're going to favor the SEC. Now, if it was the other way around and Georgia came in as the 1-loss team and Alabama was undefeated, Georgia's out. It's that simple because they're not Alabama. You know what I mean? So they'll do Georgia the favor for having a great season and keep them in there. They don't have to worry about a thing. Their CFP, I feel like if you win the SEC as an undefeated team, they automatically going to put you in there. It don't matter. Even if you don't win your title game, they're going to still do that because they know they have it in their heads that you deserve to be here, even though you played Charleston Southern in week 12 of the season. You know what I mean? But you deserve to be here for sure. And then you got 6 teams in your conference that are below 500, but you definitely deserve to be here. I'm with you, Mike. This is why I can't stand the SEC as what they do because you can't favor one conference over everybody else so much. Yeah. I know that they have a great dominant team in Alabama, but everybody's not Alabama. The Pac-12, SC didn't get the same love. If SC loses to Cal in week 5, SC was out of it. That's why SC didn't get back-to-back national championships because they used the Cal game against them. Come on, bro. We know that. They would have smashed Iowa. They would have smashed Auburn. They would have smashed anybody they threw in front of them that season. They're and everybody has to understand one thing. That Cal team was a top 10 team as well, too. This is a team that's going to have more Hall of Famers than that legendary USC team. And I say this because Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, Marshawn Lynch was your running back, and wide receiver, Deshaun Jackson. 1, 2, 3, Hall of Fame. And you know this. Name somebody on that USC team that's going to be in the Hall of Fame for real. The ones that won the national championships. Only one that's in there, Troy P. And that's the only one that's going to be in there, in my opinion. Think about it. Reggie, you're not going to be in the Hall of Fame. You'll be in the California Hall of Fame, whatever.
How about Lendell White? How about Matt Leinart?
They'll be in the USC Hall of Fame, but they're not going to the NFL Hall of Fame.
Oh, you're talking about the NFL Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
they're going to into the college's Hall of Fame. That's not going to be a problem at all. The collegiate Hall of Fame is not going to keep these guys. They're not going to keep Lendell out, and they won't keep Matt Leinart out. But Reggie, though. Reggie's not going to get kept out, but Reggie's going to have to wait for another 20 years before they.
No. Look, when you talk about the NFL, USC has produced a ton of NFL players, but a lot of disappointments or a lot of guys that have not met expectations.
Right. But and my point in general is that it's messed up that you sleep on a team like Cal like that, and you take it away from USC because you said that wasn't a good, that loss was just, you lost to Cal, so we can't reward you. But then you don't respect what Cal's doing. Cal is a great team as well too. So you mess USC up in that situation. What if we get the Pac-12 like that again? They'll do that to the Pac-12 again. But when it comes to the SEC, oh, don't worry about it. If you guys lose mid-season to so-and-so, the second to last place team in your conference, it's okay. Because as long as you went out and get to your conference game, we got your back.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't think that's right, man. So pretty much, man, we can leave it at that. I know that you got to go. See Mike standing up and everything because he has to go.
Actually, I'm standing up because I had to charge my phone 1% battery, so I plugged it in, and my plug doesn't reach. I'm having some technical issues for everybody out there. I'm in wonderful Modesto, visiting family, as Pop said at the top of the show. So I don't have my setup, but I will do anything I have to be able to talk shop with the one and only Pop DiBiase. So here I am.
Well, we got Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati, though, man. I love Cincinnati, but I just think that it's the end of the road, because if they really respected Cincinnati, they wouldn't have made them go through all this to just get to this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they had any type of respect for them, because, they were putting them at 5 and at 6, your Notre Dame win doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, they for about 3 weeks, they had the best win on the red out of everybody who was undefeated. You know what I mean? So, Cincinnati ain't getting no love. And but if they do win, I'm going to be uber excited. And I'll tell you this, I think that if you put them in the right spot, I think, and this sounds crazy right now, if you pair them up with Georgia, I think they got a shot.
Wow. Okay.
They got a running quarterback, and they got the same type of defense that Georgia has. To me, Georgia is the offense knows they got a great defense, so they know that they just got to score, right? But what happens when they meet a great defense? I haven't seen them play a great defense all season, and that's the one thing that I can say that Alabama has done and Georgia hasn't done this year, in my opinion, from what I've seen. You know what I mean? I haven't seen anybody play great defense against them and they don't have a great offense. It's a very simplistic play calling sheet that they have. It's just big power. That's all it is. You got big boys in the trenches. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's where I say Alabama just got so much at the end of the day. And you trying to duplicate what Alabama's doing, but you can't duplicate the master.
No.
You know what I mean? I understand, when the Florida Gators came in there with Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, all that good stuff, because this is the last time Bama was this high of a dog going into the game. Florida was some beasts. That team is different. And then when we talk about NFL players with that team, they got about 20 guys to the league that all did something, that were all on the same team. So that's where you say, okay, Florida was just a different animal. And LSU was just a different animal, but I don't see that in Georgia. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. Because
I hear you, man.
I just, it's the old Pedro thing. Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
I think Georgia knows who their daddy is Alabama.
I think you're right, my friend. On that note, say hello to Papa Pop for me. Pleasure being on with you. And right when I get off, I'm going to be tuning in to check out your pick 6 and your upcoming plays.
Yep. It's too bad you running out before we can talk about the Lakers and how good how they're improving, but nobody wants to admit it. Nobody wants to admit it. That to me was a great game the other night in Sacramento. That went okay. Big Brother's not here with us today. Let's go ahead and impress, because if we don't impress in this game, somebody's about to lose their job. And the Lakers got the memo. And I think that it's time. You know what I mean? And I think that everybody got to kind of, relax Wait till we get after the Christmas game. Wait till we get back to Nunn and Ariza. And, you know, that's when you can start placing judgments on the Lakers and thinking that your opinion really matters on the forwardness of what the team is going to do. Because they want to trade everybody. You want to fire Vogel. They're 12-11. Half the league will trade for that.
They would, but I think there's a realization that which player of theirs is still in their prime. I think most of those guys, if not all of them, their best years are behind them. I think that's kind of what people are looking at. But with that said, look, basketball, even though it's a young man's game, teams that advance in the playoffs are the experienced teams, not necessarily the most athletic and young teams. It's the people that know how to handle the pressure of the situation. So the Lakers are one of those teams where the record really doesn't matter. When they get into the playoffs, they'll always do some damage. My friend, I got to run. I will catch up on more Laker talk next Wednesday.
All right, sir. And I look forward to you. Have a great day, Mike. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, my friend. As always, pleasure.
All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and talk some Lakers as well, too. I'll continue that, and then we're going to jump into the NBA Friday night as well, too. And then you guys, as Mike said, we got Talking Tickets with the CBB PrimeTime PK6 and the daily NBA Super High Five. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Anglers Live.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
What's up, world? I am back, and let's go ahead and jump into the state of the Lakers. And the Lakers, actually, tonight is the hallway series. Tonight, we got the Clippers and the Lakers going at it at the same house that they share for now. You know, a lot of us in LA love to call it the Staples Center, but it will be called the Crypto.com arena, or I guess it's not going to be the center anymore. It's going to be the Crypto.com arena or place or something like that. But they got a 20-year deal, gave the Lakers $700 million. I think that's probably one of the highest sponsorship deals anybody has put on their stadium ever. Because I know the Raiders are dealing with a bankrupt company right now. With they was doing good when they put their name on the side of the stadium, but you know it was hilarious because I had to realize that they only fly that plane out of Vegas. I thought they had LA terminals and everything for that place. I've never seen I like to call it Allegiant or something, Allegiant or something. Yeah, Allegiant. I've never seen an airport terminal for that airport. So, Mark, don't take the first offer that's just thrown out on the table, brother. Come on, man. You got all those different people in Las Vegas that can sponsor the stadium, and you go to the bankrupt airline. Come on, dog. You better than that. All right. So Lakers. People have to understand, man, it's a process. It's going to take some time. I know everybody wanted the Lakers to come out and be just like the Warriors and the Suns, right? You wanted, but difference between the Lakers and the Warriors and Suns is this. The Warriors and Suns all know each other. The Lakers you know, with LeBron, it's a brand new roster every year. You know what I mean? LeBron ain't played with the same players at all since he's been in LA. Name one player that was here when LeBron got here. I'll wait. Okay. So pretty much you know what he's doing right now. We've never had a player do this in LA Laker history where you just keep having new teammates. And even Kobe, come on, even Kobe didn't do things like this, you know, and Kobe could have easily had them doing this, but Kobe liked playing with Sasha Vujacic. Kobe liked playing with Lamar Odom. Kobe liked playing with Paul Gasol. He liked playing with Derek Fisher. You know what I mean? And that's it. You know, they formed a brotherhood. It seems like can't nobody form a brotherhood with LeBron because he don't want to keep you around long enough if you don't get what he wants. So, you know, I just really feel that the Lakers are putting themselves right where they need to be. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And so I feel like now the Lakers are putting themselves in the pack with the rest of the best teams in the league. They're 12-11. They smoked a pretty good Sacramento Kings team. I don't care what anybody says. They can say as much as they want about their record, but that team is 10-12 on the season. Come on. They're not playing, and they beat the Suns this year, okay? And, you know, and they beat the Lakers as well. So you can't keep saying, oh, I don't think they're that good. They beat the Blazers twice. So that wasn't a bad loss when we lost to triple overtime. That was a team that now seems to have some freedom. But that's because Alvin Gentry's a really good coach, and he knows how to take on teams just like Sacramento. You know what I mean? And, you know, that's what people have to understand, that this thing is not going to be great overnight. It's going to take some time. But I do understand everybody's gripe about, you know, having these older players, veterans, things of that nature. But thing is, though, what a lot of these really good teams are doing, they're infusing old with young. But really what they're doing is they're taking a old player who has all the resume and everything to lead that team, a la the Suns with Chris Paul and his group. Then you have Steph Curry, a guy who was drafted by this team, helped build this team, and now they had a few off seasons because of injuries. It wasn't because, you know, it was a roster issue. It was because of injuries. But what they did, though, they set themselves up to have a great future. And now they're mixing in their real big four once Clay comes back with Iggy and Draymond and Steph and Clay. They're mixing it in with these uber draft picks like James Wiseman, who's set to return. You got Kingaman, who's an excellent player. Then you got Jordan Poole, who's absolutely, you saw what he did the other night. The kid dropped 16 in the first quarter of the Suns game and actually went on an 11-0 run by himself. So, you know, these players are really, really high-end, high-value players. And that's why the Suns and the Warriors are well ahead of everybody in the NBA because they get it. All right. The Lakers are waiting on Kendrick Nunn and Trevor Ariza. Once we get those two back, we assess what they can do maybe within the first 5 games that they're back. Then that's when you start thinking about trades. But I think when we get those two back, we'll be already winning a whole lot of games at that point. So it won't even be needed. So you guys just relax. Understand that we got to take it one game at a time. Good shape tonight because you're dealing with the Warriors, with the Clippers team that's kind of going through the motions a little bit. The Clippers can play good for a good stretch, but then when they start losing, they'll lose a lot of games consecutively. Last night they got absolutely torched by the Kings. Okay, the game wasn't even close. So I'm looking at that and seeing they've lost to New Orleans twice here this season as well too. New Orleans is bad, you know what I mean? And they didn't just lose to New Orleans; they got blown out by New Orleans. You know what I mean? So the last good win that the Clippers actually got was against a Minnesota team that beat the Lakers the night before, but they got them the second night after they put in all that work against the Lakers. But I know that a lot of the Clipper fans were excited because they went on a nice little winning streak and everything like that, actually pulled off, from what I can see here, 6 in a row in November to start the month. But then after that, they weren't that good. They actually had a losing record after that point, winding up going 3-6 after that big stretch of 7 games in a row. So come on, this team is inconsistent. They may not even make the playoffs this year, but the Lakers should not take that as a pass to think that they're going to be able to just roll on the Clippers. I just know that if the Lakers win this game tonight, I don't consider it a monster upset or anything of that nature. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And that's what I'm going, that's what I see here, and that's where I'm going here with this one. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But everything is everything, man. This should be good tonight. The hallway series. We know that we're gonna have a lot of back and forth between Lakers and Clipper fans and all that good stuff tonight. So be ready. That's all I can say is be ready. And then pretty much let's go ahead and we're going to get into our next topic in hand. This is going to be about something about. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm just loading up pictures real quick. So give me one moment. All right. So I got a good juicy dog for you guys today as well, too, man. So you guys are going to be excited. I got 2 of them, actually. So be ready. That's all I can say is be ready. Yep, Jazz and Celtics. Everybody who remembers the classic movie Celtic Pride, you guys all remember that we had a very fun movie with Daniel Stern, Dan Aykroyd, and Damon Wayans. So every time they play each other, I think of that movie. So it should be pretty funny tonight with that game as well, too. And then he winds up playing for the Celtics at the end of all. Well, he winds up playing for the Celtics at the end of all of it. It's crazy. And then he's supposed to be Karl Malone, but Karl Malone was never that hip. Golly. So yeah, it was pretty good, man. I'll say that. I'll say that. But let's go ahead and move on to our next topic in hand, and that's going to be the Wizards at the Cavaliers. The Cavs at the Wizards. Cavs coming into this game looking pretty good, man. The Cavs have got 2 wins as the dog in their last since they've gotten the man back himself, Evan Mobley, and actually they've won their last 3 in a row since Evan Mobley returned. And they did go on a quick losing streak without him, but the funny part about the Cavs were they kept games very close against 2 very good teams right before he came back. So, they did drop 5 in a row, but before they dropped that 5 in a row, they had actually won their first 6 out of 7 games of the month. So they wound up finishing up pretty much with a winning record as well, too, this month. They wound up going 8-6. So, yeah, they did lose 5 in a row, but they still went 8-6 this month, finishing the month off right. Then were able to start off December right with a monster win over the Heat. This team is dangerous, man. But the thing is, though, they have already played Washington this year, and the game that they played against Washington was one of the better games of the season. I saw it on NBA TV. And, Kyle Kuzma had a big shot that day. He had a late 3-pointer to win that game. But the Wizards, as I said before, they had a good little stretch in November where they won 5 in a row. But then after that, they wound up dropping 3 out of – they wound up losing 5 out of the last 8 games of the month. But that doesn't really – this necessarily mean that they're off or anything like that. It's just was where what the schedule was in front of them. When they went on that quick little losing streak, they actually, pretty much went up from what I'm seeing here. You lost to 2 division foes in Charlotte and Miami, and then you lost to Charlotte again. The only bad loss that they had in this group was New Orleans. That's it. But the rest of these games, they've won against teams that that you can go 50-50 on who you're betting with on that game. They beat those teams resoundingly. So I like what I see tonight, but I think that the Wizards have enough to go ahead and win this one tonight. And I think that the money line is a good price for you. It's not a great value, but it's a good price for you. And I think that things should work out tonight if that's the bet that you're going to be jumping in on with the Cavs and the Wizards tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move from there. So we move on to our next game, which is going to be a very, 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 very fun game tonight. And that's going to be the Nets and the Wolves. And this is going to be at the Barclay, at the Clays, at the Bork. So you have Timberwolves coming in here 11-11. You got the Nets coming in here 15-6, fresh off a good win over the Knicks. That was a very, very tough win at the same time, too. They've won their last 4 out of 5 games as well. Only loss in that stretch was to the Phoenix Suns, who have won 18 in a row. So other than that, they've been just kicking some butt. Then you have the Wolves, who start off the month losing their first 6 games in a row, and then they wound up finishing the month off pretty well. They wound up doing much, much better than they did starting the month. You know what I mean? They wound up winning 5 in a row themselves, and then winning 2 in a row on the way out at the end of the month as well, too. So they actually did win their last 7 out of 8 games for the month of November. After starting the month off horrid, they were 1-7. Wow. So wow, that it went from 1-7 to 7-1. So hey, those are the things that's the signs of a team that's pretty good, but they didn't start off the month great, and that's against the same team we just talked about, the Wizards. So you got the Nets coming into this one. They feeling themselves. They are hitting their stride at the right time. You know what I mean? Early in the season, they don't have the same issues as the Lakers because they have guys like Patty Mills, who was a part of the Greg Popovich system, and then you have a former superstar who still can go out there and do some things. It's kind of like the Lakers with Melo. It's Blake Griffin. He's kind of like the Melo of their group because they all came around the same time. Durant, Griffin, Kyrie, Harden, all those guys. So they are well versed with each other. So that's why this thing is working out so well. And honestly, they have a better coach. You know what I mean? The Steve Nash does not get enough credit for the coaching job that he's doing with the Nets. Steve Nash was a top end player, but he played the point guard position, and usually point guards wind up being pretty great coaches in the NBA. So he's doing a great job. He learned from a good group of coaches as well too, and has came in there and taken over this Nets team and directed them in the right direction. Now we just got to see if he can win some playoff games. Minnesota, they got a star waiting. Anthony Edwards, I don't know why he's not getting more commercials, more everything, because I won't say he's like MJ, but I'm going to say this. The way that he approaches the game and the way that he dunks that basketball, I would say that rookie year MJ and second year MJ, hey, that might be very comparable on who he is right now. He might not end up as great as Jordan was, but the way he's played these first 2 years, you can see that he's going to make a difference for this Wolves team that is in dire need of it, if you know what I mean. Because believe it or not, from what Lil Birdie told me, the Wolves are probably one of the next teams in the NBA that are going to wind up moving. They better get to some winning now, because you don't want to do Minnesota dirty twice. You know what I mean? So we move on to our next game, and this one is this was a fun NBA Finals back in 1995. This was 94-95. This was between the Rockets and the Magic, the biggest upset in NBA Finals history. 6 seed beating up on the best team in the NBA. So now it's not like that. both of these teams are absolutely terrible. Both have 5 wins on the season. One 5-18, the other 5-16. And it seems like wins come a dime a dozen. But the funny part about the Rockets actually started off the season 1-16. They've won their last 4 games in a row. So they're going to get a lot of love tonight. Then you have the Magic, who came off of a big upset win at home over Denver. A lot of people probably had the Nuggets pegged as their lock of the day. There were people taking the money line and putting it as the cherry on their parlays and all that stuff, and wound up not working out for folks because, yeah, it happens. Probably 95% of the bets were probably on Denver that day as well too. So when I look at this one, I think to myself that this is a very even game, and you can't take anything that seriously with this one. This should not be your biggest bet of the day because the Rockets have won 4 games in a row. That means absolutely nothing. And then you look at this and tell yourself it's a scoreboard watch. And you know one thing for sure. Neither one of these teams score that many points. You know what I mean? And the Rockets, the last few games, they've scored over 100 plus each game, right? And they even had one they threw in there that they scored 146 in. But still, it was 2 wins over the Rockets that were involved. I mean, not the Rockets, but the Thunder that are part of this streak as well, too. So, 2 wins against 2 really good Eastern Conference teams and 2 wins against a team that's going to be drafted in the top 3 next year. So, I look at this one once again. This is a scoreboard watch. There's nothing more that you can really say about this game. It's going to be a toss up, and there is no guarantee on who the winner is going to be. But I will tell you this: I think whoever gets to 100 first possibly is the winner for tonight. All right, and it's crazy because Orlando had, in their last 5, they had 4 games in a row where they didn't even break 100, but then they win the night they break 100. So there it is. And with the spread tonight, it's a small spread on this game, -2.5, and then you got a +115 on the Magic is the dog, and the -140 for the favorite tonight, which is going to be the Rockets. So we move on to the game that I was talking about a moment ago, and that's going to be the Celtics and the Jazz. And we're going to go ahead and rekindle Celtic pride tonight. And we have the Celtics plus, and you know what? I'm just going to be real quick here. You got the Celtics winning their last 3 out of 5 games, including the last 2 in a row. You have the Jazz, same thing, last 3 out of 5 games, including the 2 in a row themselves. And a good win over Portland at home and a good win over New Orleans at home. But tonight they go against what kind of has been their kryptonite this season, the Eastern Conference teams. They haven't done well against the East this year. You would think they would have done better, but they haven't. So I'm looking at it now. When they were on their last game against the East at home was a loss to Miami by 6. And then the 2 nights before that, they lost to Indiana by 11. And so pretty much I see Boston coming in here, and I know Boston's better than Indiana for sure. And I know that they're not that far back from Miami. So what tells me here is that this is the night to go ahead and do some big C fishing right here. And let's go ahead and get on that monster money line tonight, which is now bumped up to 280. It was at plus 260 when I put my notes together and put this segment together. But I think that there's too many points. There's just too much you're giving to Boston tonight. You know what I mean? I mean, not to Boston, but to Utah. And Utah, yes, you're really good at home and everything like that. But in these type of spots, these are the games that you do blow against the NBA traditional teams. And I feel like the Celtics are going to come in here with their 1 game in Utah this year and pull off a nice upset. And I think, and the last time I was in this spot with Boston, they won by almost 20 points. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Hopefully we can get this bad boy home. But I like it. I like it. All right, so there it is with that. And then we're going to go ahead and it's this game once again. And second time this week, you got the Warriors and the Suns going at it. And tonight, I think that this is going to be the Warriors get back game. The Warriors are a heavy favorite tonight at 6.5, minus 275 on the money line tonight. It's not like the other night when we had them as the dog. I actually had them as my premium as well, too. And they wound up, you saw what happened. They wound up losing. So, all in all, though, all I can say is about this game tonight, I think that the 18-game winning streak for the Suns absolutely comes to an end tonight. That, like, without a doubt, it comes to an end tonight because they just now they just playing with house money. You know what I mean? They should have lost that game the other night to the Warriors, but they did everything right at the end. The Warriors couldn't make any shots there in the last 2.5 minutes, and then the next team up would have probably gave them a real problem if they were better. They wound up playing Detroit, but one thing I will say is Detroit can't score to save their city. But for some odd reason, they wound up scoring 103 points the other night. Only reason why I'm griping is because that was the one that missed the sweep for me and my clients the other night. That was a premium play as well, too. And you guys, they wound up scoring 103, and I needed them to keep the game up under 98 on their side. And yeah, I saw at the end of the third quarter that probably wasn't going to happen because they had 79 points. So, hey, we tried. And, I tried to we did it with Orlando a day or two before, so I thought that I was going to be able to get the Pistons on it as well, too, because they don't score a lot of points. But all in all, when you look at this game, this game is going to be at the Chase Center in downtown San Francisco. It's going to be jumping tonight. This is going to be the first stop before big sushis and all big steaks and all that good stuff and going out to a nice lounge or bar. You know how it is. It's real expensive on that side of town. So I expect people to have a whole good night out for it. So pretty much tonight, I do see the Warriors getting a big win in front of their home crowd, winning this game by double digits or better. Yes, I know the Suns are a very good team, but I think when we really compare the two at this point, the Warriors are the better squad because they have the better coach. It's that simple, okay? So there it is. There it is with that, and we will go ahead and get into our next segment, which is going to be Talking Tickets. And when we talk them tickets, this is what we have. I'm hooking y'all up today. 115-1 with the CBB PrimeTime PK6. We got the Notre Dame game up at Boston College -5. We need them to win by 6. We got Coppin State going against Cornell. We need the +7.5. Also, we got UTEP in the game with New Mexico State. I think they eke that one out, get themselves a nice little win over there at the Don Haskins Center. And then we have UT Rio Grande Valley going against Texas tonight. I think that Texas winds up not covering the spot tonight. That's why I'm taking the +25 here. And then our big dog tonight is going to be a game that's going to be going down in Boise, Idaho. And we're going to be going with the boys from Tulsa at the +335. This is a big spot. I would say this. I think Tulsa. I know Tulsa is probably having a rebuilding year, but this is the type of game that you will see a spot like this, and you'll say, "Oh, Boise State should go ahead and cream them," and then Tulsa winds up winning the game by 5-6 points. So we're gonna see how it goes, see how it shakes out. But let's go some big game hunting today. +335. Let's rock and roll. And then we finish off with Virginia tonight with the -13.5. They're going against Pitt. And I think that, with that bad loss Pitt had the other day, and we all know how Virginia is. Virginia will lock you up and throw away the key. And I think that's exactly what happens here. They win this game by 15 or better. And then we have our NBA Super High Five for tonight. We have the Wizards here -150 on the money line. Then we're going over 222.5 with the Wolves and Nets game tonight. Then we have the under 217 with the Magic and the Rockets. And then with the Celtics money line, we have the +280. And then with the -7, we have the Warriors today. So there it is, 42-1 on the NBA Super High Five, 115-1 on the PrimeTime PK6. That's literally a lotto ticket in a sense right there as well, too. So, you don't have to put too much money on this to get some big rewards on this, but put more than $10 on it, man. $20 is the minimum bet on these tickets, because if they hit, I want y'all to hit for some real money, man. Y'all people playing for $1 and me coming back playing for $2. I mean, for $5 coming back talking about, yeah, man, I made 260, man. I wish I would have bet it more. Like, nah, just trust in what I'm saying. And if you lose $20, it's all good, man, because we gambling, and this is a lotto ticket. Small risk, big reward. Let's go. Let's see how it checks out. Let's see how it goes. And let's enjoy the weekend. It's going to be a lot of great events in store. And you guys be on the lookout. I'm going to be dropping my bets for the CFB championship games on the Twitter in about the next hour or so. And also, my favorite conference is starting back today in college basketball, and that is the Metro Atlantic, short for the Metro. And we are back in full effect. Everybody's on the schedule today in the MAAC. So we'll see how today shapes up, but most definitely be on the lookout for the Metro bets, because you guys know I've made a lot of people a lot of money in these small school college games. So there it is. There it is. I want to thank you guys once again for tuning in. You guys make sure to catch the fights this weekend as well, too. Devin Haney tomorrow night in Las Vegas against JoJo Diaz for the WBC lightweight belt. That's going to be over at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. You guys can get tickets that are tickets because they're still available at this point. And then Sunday, where you may see me at, if it's still 50-50 on it, but we'll see how everything works out this weekend. We're going to be at the Tank. It's going to be the Tank Davis versus my friend Isaac, the Pitbull Cruz. And pretty much they're going to be going at it. And I'm going to tell you, like, guys, like this. Don't think that this is a walk in the park for Tank. The Rolly's fight was much easier for Tank than this one. He has no clue who he's about to deal with in this fight. So I expect a close, really good fight, and I expect a very, very great weekend as well, too. There's going to be a lot of great NFL games as well, too. A lot of great NBA, and we got a bunch of college and a bunch of college going on this weekend as well, too. So all in all, let me stop the rant. I need to go. It's Friday. You guys are the best. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles Live. And I am your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.